I've worked with literally hundreds of B2B companies, and I can count on one hand how many times I've seen the sales team set up the right way. In this video, I'm going to share the number one mistake B2B companies make with their sales team and how a shift in thinking and perspective can change everything. So traditionally, a lot of B2B companies will hire reps with the idea that that's going to bring them in more business. They want more business, they hire more reps. And each rep will be responsible for self-generating their own leads and sourcing their own opportunities. But what typically happens is when the rep comes on board, they get a couple of quick wins. And why is that? That's because they already come with a network built in oftentimes, right? If they have experience, they already know some people, they go back to some old clients, some old friends, etc., and they're able to get some quick wins. But once they go through their warm network, oftentimes that's it. They fall off a cliff because they are being told to do the wrong things. Most B2B sales reps are required to hit certain revenue metrics. However, they're required to hit these through self-generation, right? So once that warm network is over, they could be in big trouble because they don't have anybody they can go to prospect effectively. Now, the thought process of the owner oftentimes is that I've hired this person, they're responsible for generating their leads, and they will eat what they kill, right? And that's kind of the structure they've set up. In some scenarios, that can work out well, but more times than not, they would be way better off putting an engine in place that feeds these sales reps warm opportunities. Why do you want your sales rep who's making 100, 150, 200, 250,000 a year spending their time trying to send cold emails and research prospects and trying to figure out what networking groups they should join, what industry events they should attend? It doesn't make a lot of sense if you really boil it down. If you think about it logically, you will produce the most revenue for your company if your sales reps spend time selling versus prospecting. Imagine if your highly paid, highly qualified, relationship building expert salesperson spent all their time building those relationships, had those spoon fed to them, and all I had to do was spend time talking to prospective clients that are actually interested, that have the need, budget, and authority, and spent all their time selling. How much more revenue do you think you would generate? A great exercise to do with the sales team is to sit them down and say, hey, what percentage of your time do you spend prospecting? How much time are you sitting on LinkedIn trying to research who might be a good prospect? How much time do you spend going to networking events in hopes to make a connection that actually counts? When you do that, oftentimes you'll see that it could be 50 to 80% of their time is spent on those non-revenue producing activities. Now, of course, you can make the argument that those lead to revenue producing activities, which is actually closing sales. But I would say you can hire somebody way less expensive, whether that's an agency or building your own system in-house, that can tee up those warm opportunities so that those reps can be as valuable as humanly possible to your organization. And even if you're not an owner or founder or sales leader watching this video, you can also think about it from the perspective of the sales rep themselves. If you're a highly paid sales rep, you may want to start to think about how can I build an engine that can allow me to accelerate what I'm doing now? How can I put something in place that will feed me for years to come, that will bring me warm opportunities on a regular basis? Because most reps don't like that part of it. There are some that do, and you might call those SDRs, right, rather than BDRs. Maybe those sales development reps really like opening the door and getting that initial conversation going, but oftentimes that's one of the hardest things to do. And the BDRs, right, the business development reps, they shouldn't spend their time doing that. They should spend their time talking about your product or service, helping to solve the challenges that the prospect has, not trying to figure out who to talk to next. So the natural next question is, okay, well, how do I do that? How do I create an engine and a system and process that will feed my reps for years to come? There's really no one-size-fits-all strategy, right? There's basically 4 ways to generate leads, right? You have organic, you have paid, you have networking, and you have outbound. That's pretty much it. That's all you can do. Now there's subcategories, of course, below those, but you have to pick one of those avenues. And rather than try to do them all really effectively, you'll be a jack of all trades, a master of none. So why not focus on one? Get very good at one, master one, and to try to figure out which one is right for your industry, you have to do a little bit of research. Now, what I've personally seen work the best across every industry I've ever worked in the B2B space is outbound. The reason I like outbound is because it has a lot of advantages. Number one, you can target who you're going after up front. So when you actually start the conversation and get that lead, you know it's a good lead before you get there because you spent the time researching up front. Some of the challenges you probably experience if you're doing any type of organic, any type of inbound, or any type of paid is it's very difficult to control the lead quality. Often you'll get an inquiry, You're excited, you got the inquiry on your website, and then you realize this is a small fish, you can't even service them. So outbound allows you very predictable results, and it's pretty scalable when done right. Now, what are the different types of outbound you can possibly do? You've got some digital strategies. You can do cold email. You can do outbound LinkedIn messaging or other social media channels. You can also do things like cold calling, which is becoming more and more difficult as time goes on. Right? The spam filters on the phone are very, very strong. I don't recommend any of those strategies as your core strategy. The challenge with things like that is they are very saturated. Reason being, when there's a low barrier to entry, it is very easy for something to get saturated. For example, LinkedIn outbound messaging was so powerful years ago. It was literally like shooting fish in a barrel. You could run a LinkedIn automation campaign, connect with dozens of people over the course of the day, have messages drip fed to them, and convert people pretty easily into at least initial conversations. The challenge with that is those softwares are very inexpensive, which means that everybody has access to that. The same is true about cold email. I love cold email. We've made millions of dollars through cold email, but what's happened over time is it's become more and more saturated, again, because the barrier to entry keeps lessening. When done right, you can spin up multiple email accounts, pump out a lot of volume, and you can literally just play a numbers game with cold email where you're basically shotgunning out there and hoping to hit something, right? So you start a conversation. And you can do that, again, very inexpensively. You can do that whether you're a one-man or one-woman show. You can spin up a couple email accounts with a very low monthly investment and blast these out. So because the barrier of entry is so low with some of those strategies, it makes it very, very easy for them to get saturated. So following that logic, you want to be able to do something that's hard to saturate. That's one of the reasons that networking and building these personal relationships is a really good strategy on the long term, because it's not something that can really be saturated. There's only so many people that are going to go to an event, so many people you can talk to in a day, right? It's not infinitely scalable. Where cold email, you can build an engine that spits out 10,000 emails a day. I don't recommend that, that's spam, right? But you could. So you could reach 10,000 people, where if you're networking in a room, you're only gonna maybe talk to 10, 15 people over the course of the night, most likely. Hopefully that's making sense and you're seeing the difference between the two. The key is to find something that's very difficult to saturate. And one of the advantages you can have over smaller players in the game is a budget. Right? When you're able to spend some money, that makes it much more difficult to saturate something. For example, paid ads. I'm not recommending these necessarily, but there's a cost to play that game, right? Every click costs money, which is why oftentimes you see large companies spending money on paid ads because they have a large budget for it. The average person is going to have basically 0% chance to start a paid ads campaign and be profitable. If you have no training, if you have no skill set, if you don't have a good offer, you don't have a good landing page, you don't have conversion optimization figured out, you're not going to be able to do that successfully. Very rare. However, if you're likable and you're outgoing and enthusiastic and you go to a networking event, you can quickly start some relationships and have business before you know it. That's, I think, one of the reasons these tried and true strategies are the core of some of these B2B sales teams, right? Now, we try to stay on the cutting edge of every type of B2B marketing out there. And we've tried dozens. Every quarter we try something new. We spend our own money to test different theories. We try what's up and coming, and we always try to innovate. And the strategy that's working best for us right now, and we believe will continue to work the best moving forward because it's very difficult to saturate, and it does what you need to do in B2B sales, which is build rapport and build that know, like, and trust and open the door to the conversation, is one-on-one, hyper-personalized direct mail. It sounds insane, right, in this digital age that we would do something like that. But let's just reverse engineer why it works so well. First of all, we're not sending letters, right? Those don't get opened. We're sending physical gifts to people that are personalized to them. So we're doing actual research on an individual to see what they care about. An example in another video that I released, I was talking about finding someone in a golf group, for example, and then sending them some golf balls, high-end golf balls with their logo on it and their name embroidered on it as well, along with a handwritten note that references something they said in one of their LinkedIn posts. How often do you think that person is going to convert into a real conversation? Versus you open up your email, you have 10,000 solicitation emails, there's no rapport there. Versus you open a box at your office and this thing is totally personalized to you. What goes through your mind? Most human beings are going to think, wow, if this is how they treat their prospects, I can't imagine how well they treat their clients. That's the emotion you want to elicit. You want the prospect to be so impressed that they must call you. They absolutely want to know what you do. They want to know how you do it. And you've separated yourself from the crowd completely because almost no one else is going to do this. Now, of course, this takes time and effort. However, your B2B sales rep does not need to do this, right? This is something that can be outsourced or insourced. It can be done by a company like ours because we specialize in this. And it can also be done by someone internally, right? At your company. It can be an individual that is focused solely on this position, or it can be someone that has some free time, depending on the size of your sales team, that can do this as part of their daily activities. When I talk to most companies, I ask how many qualified leads is a sales rep having meaningful conversations with every single month, and it's rare to hear over 10. A lot of times I'll hear 5 or 3 or 2, very low numbers. And part of the reason is the amount of work they have to put in to get those conversations. If you're a sales manager and your reps are spending 50% of their time prospecting or more, or you're an individual contributor and you're spending 50% of your time or more, think about how much more you could be doing if you had that first piece of the puzzle dialed, that first piece of the puzzle done for you. So we're at the end of the year here of 2024 at the time of this recording. And I would urge everybody to think of how you're going to build out a strategy that's going to feed your sales team or yourself if you're the rep, so that you don't have to spend so much of your time doing these lower level activities that can be outsourced or insourced. The end result is going to be you close more deals. The end result is going to be you generate more revenue. And if you need help building out this strategy, either bringing it in-house or having us do it for you, we have options for both. And if you'd rather just figure it out yourself, that's great too. I would just urge you to please develop a strategy, move forward with a plan, and do something different in 2025 so you can deploy one of the best, most high-quality B2B sales infrastructures that exist in the world. I hope this video has been valuable for you. I hope it's got your wheels turning, thinking about how you can change things up to become more effective, more efficient, and grow your revenue. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.